The topic of this video is about weekly newsletters. This video is a summary of what we talked about before Christmas vacation, hopefully answering any more questions that you might have, and also just kind of reviewing the importance of why we have them and the importance of how they reflect our image as WIIS to our parents. And so this weekly newsletter is really geared towards your elementary students. It is something that's mandatory for all elementary teachers to do, and that was originally just for classroom teachers, but really we're seeing a need that is extended to the Chinese department as well. For secondary classes, you can kind of ignore this more because starting in 7th grade, they've got, and even 6th grade maybe, they've got their planners. Their parents expect them to be independent in this. You can expect them to be able to take care of their homework by themselves. Whereas in elementary, the homework is really an effort with the parents to help the kids know what to do and to keep them accountable and things like this. And so we see a real need from the elementary parent feedback that a lot of parents don't know what's expected of their children to do for their homework. They don't know, they're confused as to what homework their children are going to have each day. They don't know if the homework is correct or incorrect because it changes from time to time. And this is not to say for every Chinese class, but that is the general feedback. So it is really important to keep in mind that this isn't just some kind of random extra thing that you need to do, but really it is the core of how we can work together as teachers and as parents, as we do know that at the elementary level especially, that's really a joint effort. And so for them to have support for you and you to have support for them, this open communication is really important. I do encourage you, even if you're in secondary, to explain what standards your children are learning throughout their time as well with parents, whether through a newsletter, through how you report through PowerSchool and things like that. But it is not part, you don't necessarily need to make a weekly newsletter, but for elementary it really is important to do so. All right, so first I'm going to show you my weekly newsletter as an example for you to see how I use this with my practice. I want you to also consider how you can communicate this to parents. I use ClassDojo. I find it to be really convenient because ClassDojo has a lot of different features. But that's enough for a whole different video. I just want to walk you through mine as an example. It is different than the one that I gave you, but the idea is the same. So first at the top, I have the homework. I try to keep my homework pretty consistent as a system, so they have a log that they use. They also can use iExcel for math. So for Chinese department, this would be some sort of vocabulary practice that they use. You could always use Quizlet, or you could always use, whatever platform you use. Try to keep it consistent and have things changing within it. That makes it a lot easier to make sure that your students are actually getting work done, and also that everybody knows what to do. And I just kind of clarify what they need to do down here. And if I go down here, you can see the topic for the week for each of my subjects. And so this would be your different classes. This would be your ESOL level 1, whatever. I mean, not ESOL, Chinese level 1, or whatever have you. Here I have my objectives, so what they're supposed to be knowing. That can change week to week. For example, these change pretty much week to week, whereas these standards I keep for the whole unit. So this column stays the same for about 3 to 4 weeks, and so really it's a little bit flexible with that. So my weekly newsletter, to set up the format, took maybe a good 45 minutes, but now it only takes me about 5 to 10 minutes each week. At the beginning of the year, I had another column, another row down here for key vocabulary. That's something you could consider as well, but I don't do it anymore. So it really is just an overview of the homework and an overview of the standards that you're doing. These can stay pretty much the same over the course of a unit, especially as you start out in this process. The homework, it should not be changing day to day. You should have a format that you follow. Lesson plans are flexible, but the standards are not flexible. So it really doesn't change that much. Lesson plans, for example, these standards. Why am I here? Jericho. Last week we had snow days. I wasn't able to teach it, but that didn't mean that I went back and changed my communication with the parents because the standard is the same. The objective is the same. I just wanted to mention one more thing about the homework structures. You really should have a structure that's consistent, even if your lesson plans are flexible day to day. Sometimes the kids need extra time on something, or there's a snow day, or just things come up. Life happens. Your standards are not changing, and so even if you need to extend that time, your communication with parents doesn't change, and your homework should not be changing day to day. So your homework really needs to be planned in a system that is easy to use for families and parents and students, so that their vocabulary can change within it, their sentence structure can change within it, but that structure shouldn't change. And so you need to find a platform, whether it's a workbook packet that you go through. So I made one for spelling. So every week they're practicing the different grammar skills, they're practicing lots of different skills with new vocabulary, but that packet really stays the same out of three options, A, B, and C. And but at the beginning, I just had one option, and so parents know exactly what to expect. That will really break down your questions. That will really build your trust with parents, and you'll see that the kids do their homework more often because they know exactly what's expected of them every time. So I hope that you enjoyed that video, and I hope that it can clarify some things for you. If you still have questions, I'm there to answer. Thanks. Bye bye.